Hey guys, Jonty Hikmet here. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be speaking about the two most important skills to cultivate to get lasting relief from pain. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know I speak a lot about meditation, journaling, self-care. These are the different tools I recommend to get better. Whereas in this video, I'm going to speak about the specific skills that we learn in those tools that are very important to get lasting relief from pain. So, straight into it, the two most important skills is learning how to welcome all emotions and learning how to intentionally shift perspectives, create new perspectives for ourselves. These two things are skills that take time to learn. Learning what it actually entails to welcome all emotions takes time. Learning what it takes to intentionally shift our perspective on our situation, on our life, also takes some time. And we do this, we mainly practice doing this in things like meditation, journaling, self-talk. You can do this in therapy as well, but these are the main ways that you can do this by yourself. Two most important skills. So let's go through each of them one by one. So, welcoming all emotions. Let's start with this one by one. So, in the welcoming all emotions, what is this? So welcoming all emotions, that's easy. So welcoming the presence of fear, anger, welcoming the presence of embarrassment, shame, and resistance to all of these things as well. That's also an emotion. So people in the mind-body space, they'll often speak about the fear-pain cycle and about how we mustn't fear our symptoms if we want to get better, which I don't agree with. I think that is like trying to solve a problem using the mind that created the problem. In this process, the way that I go about it is we need to learn how to acknowledge fear and welcome an emotion like fear. If you know anything about how the mind creates symptoms in the body, it's usually happening because of repressed emotions. So if we notice that we fear our pain, if we try and push that fear away or try and not fear, then we're just going to be repressing more emotions. We're going to be repressing our fear. So we need to learn how to actually feel safe feeling an emotion like fear. So not only fear, but anger, embarrassment, shame, all these disappointment, all these emotions we're not used to feeling. The reason we get symptoms in the first place is because we haven't learned how to feel these things or allow them to be here. And in this process, we learn how to welcome all emotions, meditation, journaling, self-talk. That's my little spiel. What I've written here, you may not see what it says, but it says, how can we welcome emotions that we don't like? So how can we welcome an emotion like fear if we don't like it? How do we actually do that? So what makes something like meditation and journaling so amazing is they're safe spaces. With the 10, 20, 30 minutes that you're doing these practices, this is just like this little ecosystem of time. You get to tell parts of you, I'm just going to let myself feel the emotions I usually won't let myself feel. In the meditation, I'm just going to notice what it feels like to let fear be in my body. Fear for me feels like a hollowness in my chest. I can feel it in my throat. Naturally, parts of me don't like the fear. What do I do when I notice parts of me resisting the emotion that I don't like? What do I do with that resistance? Do I tell the resistance to go away because I'm welcoming fear now? Or do I learn how to let resistance also know that this can be here? Like, I understand why I'm resisting fear. This makes sense. So you learn to do this in meditation by welcoming it in the body. You learn how to acknowledge the fact that all of this is happening. In journaling, you learn to welcome emotions by just writing them all out. You learn to just complete, I call it a brain dump, where you just, in any direction that your mind is going in that moment, that's what you journal. So it could be like, I really don't want to be journaling. I really hate this. It's scaring me that I have symptoms. I don't like journaling at all. I'm not quite sure if I'm doing this correctly. Should I be feeling the fear right now? I don't know that I'm feeling the fear properly right now. Like your journaling session can just be exactly what you're thinking and feeling in that moment. I really hate that my partner did this. You know, they always leave their towel on the floor, and things are frustrating me so much. The process of welcoming all emotions is more about self-discovery than about resolving or figuring things out. What you're doing when you're meditating and journaling is you're discovering exactly what's occurring for you in the mind in that moment. And what you may notice, lots of things that you don't like. I'm going to get into the challenges later, and one of the challenges is that we think that when we welcome all emotions, things are going to feel calmer. and that's the evidence that we're doing it correctly. That's not the case. Things may often feel more intense when we welcome more emotions. When we open different doors to our psyche and let fear be here and resistance to fear be here, and anger and shame and confusion and doubt, it often will intensify that emotion. We'll feel it more in the body. Naturally, we won't like it, but that's also an emotion that we welcome. We do so in journaling by writing it all out. I'm going to get into a bit about how we can be supported doing this. One of the big challenges of welcoming all emotions is people will think, well, it would be bad if we do. If I start to welcome in an emotion like anger or fear, is it going to just start to bleed off over into my life? And am I going to just be this mess? Am I going to be depressed in the corner if I start welcoming all emotions? Am I going to start having these anger outbursts to people? Will it overwhelm me? Will it last forever? This is some of the biggest concerns about welcoming all emotions. And having been through this process myself, guided lots of people through it, it doesn't lead to that. The reason meditation and journaling is the safe space is you begin to notice the life cycle of an emotion is actually fairly short. When you can fully surrender and fully, just in an uninhibited way, welcome the presence of something and really feel it through your body. Even if it's intensifying, it will rise and it will fall. The life cycle of an emotion isn't as long as we think it is. When we start to get nearer to a new emotion that we're not used to getting near to, I'm going to keep using the example of fear, it may take some time. It may not just be in one meditation or journaling, you straight away figure out how to allow it to be there and you're fine with it. It may take days, weeks, months, depending on the emotion, for you to finally realize that it's not going to overwhelm you. There's never been an emotion that eventually I've gotten deep enough to feel where it's actually the big bad wolf and it's there to kill me. It always feels like that at first. It always feels like at first, is this going to overwhelm me? But then the more I sit with it, the more I meditate, the more I journal, as the days and weeks go by, eventually I get deep enough with that emotion. I really let myself feel it in journaling or meditation. And it isn't as bad as I ever thought it was going to be. And because I've done this for many years now, when a new thing arises, like recently, I told a story in the community. If you're watching this in the community, maybe you heard it, where I spoke about when I had to be with shame, when I learned how to be with shame. That took me a good couple of weeks to really sit with and get comfortable feeling. And I really thought, surely when I get to the depth of the shame, it's going to be bad. Nope, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was fine. Why do we do this? So I may have kind of said that in some of this. We welcome all emotions because that's what the nervous system needs from us. You're watching this because you have some sort of disharmony on the mind or body. It's happening because on one level, you have not learned to welcome all emotions. It's not your fault. It's probably because of familial or societal upbringing. You've learned to be a perfectionist, a people pleaser, high achiever. You've learned to be controlling in some way. You haven't learned how to surrender. When we welcome all emotions, it's the type of surrender. When you welcome something like fear, you can't control it. It may get bigger. It may lead to anger. It may lead to sadness. It will go in directions that you can't control. You can't foresee. So, but you get more comfortable doing that. You get more comfortable relinquishing control, particularly in meditation and journaling. And because you get more comfortable doing so, this teaches your nervous system it doesn't need to give you pain anymore, because you're basically giving it what it needs. So why do we welcome all emotions? Because that's what helps us get lasting relief from pain. It's what teaches the nervous system, you don't need to give me pain anymore. I've learned how to welcome all emotions now. Why does the nervous system want us to welcome all emotions? Why is it giving us pain in the first place to do so? Again, having done this for a long time, what you begin to recognize is that when you learn to welcome all emotions, this gives you access to this internal power almost, where you no longer seek validation or seek guidance externally anymore. You get it internally. Suddenly it turns your intuition on. You get more clarity. You start to make decisions that you really want to make in your life about your career and your relationships, etc. All because you've learned to welcome emotions. When you finally sit down and learn how to welcome something like anger or fear, the self-discovery that comes from that will give you the answers you need for your career and for your relationships, the likes of which would not occur if you didn't welcome your emotions. It won't occur because you listen to a podcast on the subject in the same way. It won't occur because someone in your family gave you advice. your guiding mechanism is happening for you internally, and it's on the other side of welcoming all emotions. That's why your nervous system gives you pain, because it's trying to guide you to welcome all emotions. It knows, Jonty, we need you to access this internal guiding mechanism, and you're going to do so when you welcome all emotions. So we're going to give you pain to teach you that you need to do this to get there. It's working in your favor. Welcome all emotions. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want more guidance and support on this, then you know this is everything I teach in my community. If you're watching this in my community, then you know some of the meditation and journaling techniques that we're speaking about, all the lectures that I have on this in the community. We're learning to do this all the time, definitely with self-talk as well. But let's move on so this video isn't an hour long. The next one is perspective shifts. So everything we're doing in meditation and journaling is two parts. Part one is learning to welcome all emotions in ways that you usually wouldn't in everyday life, because in everyday life we have to be civil, we have to be put together and kind. Whereas when it comes to journaling, you can just be ludicrous, you can just be vulgar and disgusting and just say what you want. All the sorts of things that you'd get shamed for saying or judged for saying in everyday life. In the part one, we welcome all emotions, the likes of which we usually wouldn't welcome. And in part two, we start to practice perspective shifts. Okay, what does this mean? It means learning to be more resilient, more grateful, and more optimistic. It's not about learning to just be more positive, even though I know optimism sounds like positivism, sounds like positivity. Because to me, positivity would be the opposite, not the opposite, would be different to welcoming all emotions. Because people that learn to be positive, they're like, don't fear, don't be angry, because these things are going to hinder your life somehow. I don't follow that. So optimism is a bit different to positivity here. Optimism is more about going, I'm feeling afraid and I'm feeling sad, and that's fine. I'm going to be fine with this. I'm optimistic about it. There's the difference. So resilience, gratitude, and optimism. Learning to do this is also a skill. So part one can take time, the welcoming all emotions. And part two, the perspective shifts, is also a skill that you learn. You learn how to be more resilient, grateful, and optimistic. You learn how to speak for things that you want. Again, in journaling, you start to suggest things that you want. What have I decided that my mind and body is working for me? What if I decided to start to feel good about the things that I want in my life? What have I decided that actually maybe I can earn more than I'm currently earning? What have I decided that I do deserve this partner? You can, what have I written here? You can repeat yourself when you're doing this in journaling. You can stay over and over again. I mean, a lot of this goes into manifestation, but a lot of manifesting teachers, they'll just say, just write it over and over again. I can't wait until this happens. This is happening in my life right now. Act as if you have the thing already. Let it go in all directions. Like if while you're writing these things, parts of you don't believe that that's the case. Like if you write, what have I decided my mind and body is working for me? And then a part of you is like, no, I don't agree with that at all. You can start writing that in journaling as well. Well, a part of me doesn't believe that right now. I can see why, because I don't really have the evidence right now. You can go in a couple of different directions with this. It doesn't have to just be this linear, perfect, now I'm doing the perspective shift thing, I need to stay on this track. No, if parts of you doubt it or confused, or you can go in all directions. That's in journaling. The same in meditation. You'll notice you'll get to the part in meditation I teach at the end of my meditations for people to, or I invite people to open their heart at the end of meditation, which is an invitation to feel gratitude or compassion or love or empathy for someone or something in your life. And a lot of people will maybe struggle with that part. They'll go, I don't really know what I feel like opening my heart to. And I'll often say, make it something light. Like the mind and body doesn't care. It doesn't have to be some grandiose, like open-hearted statement to someone or something. It can be, I really like the taste of coconuts. I really like the fact that it's sunny today. I like drinking water. This is a skill that you begin to learn, and I have people do daily, or as much as possible, in your meditation, in your journaling, in your self-talk as well. Because the more that you do it, the more you'll start to notice it bleeds over into your life. There's not a day goes by now to this day where I don't drink something like water and think how amazing it is. You know, I'm not saying I'm always there going, water, amazing. You know, obviously sometimes I'm just going through the motions of life. But it's pretty amazing that we've got all of our survival needs met, like without having to lift a finger. It's pretty, I know we have to work to pay for rent and to pay for food, etc. But it's all accessible for us in ways that it wasn't for previous generations. So I'm going to get into the challenges of doing this in a moment, so because it's a skill and at first it's challenging. Why do we do this? Why are we doing this? Quite simply, it's because the mind creates the world that we live in. So the more that we can shift our mind to resilience and gratitude and optimism, the more that's the world that we'll start to live in. We'll start to live in a world where we actually feel resilient and we actually feel grateful and we feel optimistic about our lives and everything that's happening to us. Unfortunately for all of us, depending on your upbringing and again societal conditioning, at an early age, our minds were shaped for us. You know, we were raised in a certain environment, again, either in the family or society, that created a mind for us. We did not create this mind. We were nurtured to believe certain things. And then when we grow up, this mind that we never asked for, that was nurtured for us, is creating a world that we don't want to live in. Right? Because we were given this mind, it's creating a world that we don't want to live in. So now, as we become adults, we have the opportunity to shift our mind to create a world that we actually do want to live in. We don't have to be victims. We don't have to be succumb to our upbringing, the upbringing that our mind, how our minds were shaped by our upbringing. We can change that in the present day and learn to be more resilient, grateful and optimistic, to be less controlling so we can learn to welcome more emotions. This is why we want to do this, because we want to start to cultivate a mind that creates a world that we want to live in. To create things where we do kind of go, okay, this didn't go my way right now and that's okay. This person doesn't seem to like me right now and that's okay. This didn't go perfectly and that's okay. Right now I'm having symptoms in a way that isn't so comfortable and I'm fearing them. The fear's okay and the symptoms are okay and I'm going to get through this because I've learned to be resilient. Again, it's a skill that you learn. When your mind becomes shaped like that, it creates a world that you'd much rather live in, because most of our experience is about our perspective on it, not about what's actually happening. 5 people can be in the exact same experience and perceive it in different ways. Countless books speak about this. One of the best being Man's Search for Meaning. I mean, that's one of my favorites. About a terrible situation that people were in and one person getting through it and speaking about how they get through it. So let's go on to the challenges. Again, I may not have covered everything in those other things, but I want to get through the lecture. So this whole part 1 and part 2, welcoming all emotions and perspective shifts, there's going to be some challenges. So the challenges of welcoming all emotions is that lots of parts of your psyche will hold you back because they'll fear you'll be overwhelmed. They're going to hold you back from welcoming something, a big emotion. Parts of you will fear being overwhelmed. It will fear that it's going to last forever if you welcome an emotion. You'll fear that you're doing it wrong. You won't like it. So there'll be parts of you holding you back from welcoming all emotions in the journaling, in the self-talk. A lot of people in the mind-body space has maybe convinced you that fear is going to perpetuate symptoms. So now, perhaps watching this, you've got this belief of if I feel an emotion, it's going to make pain worse. That will hold you back from welcoming all emotions because you think, oh, this is going to make pain worse. That's not true. Emotions don't create symptoms. Resistance to emotions creates symptoms, but resistance is also welcome. The complexity of that and the paradox of that is what we're learning in this community. If you're not in the community, this is what I teach in the community, how to hold space for contradiction and paradox and why it's so important as an antidote to this challenge. It's natural that parts of you are going to be fearful of being overwhelmed by an emotion, and it's natural that you may not like it, and it's natural that parts of you are going to think that you're doing it wrong. The discomfort of you resisting welcoming emotions is something that you also need to welcome. Again, symptoms occur in your life because of an inability to allow discomfort. And now discomfort starts to happen when you learn to welcome all emotions, and you're going to find yourself pushing it away again. You're like, no, welcome the discomfort of struggling with this process. Welcome the fact that there's a bit of adversity here, and that's okay. This is a skill that is going to take time. This is day 1 at the gym when you can't even lift like the 2-kilo dumbbell. This is the first French lesson, if you speak French, then choose another language, where you can't even say, hello, my name is Jonty. You know, this is the adversity. This is how it's meant to be at the beginning. Welcome the discomfort of it as best as you can. If you need support and guidance, that's what I'm here for. Another struggle, another challenge of welcoming all emotions is misguided expectations about what it means. So a lot of people think, okay, I'm doing the welcoming of all emotions. So surely when I welcome things, the evidence that I'm doing it right is things will feel nicer. It will feel calmer. That's a misguided expectation because things may actually intensify. When you welcome emotions, big emotions, they may get bigger. You may feel more of it. When you start to welcome sadness, you see it bubbling up. Oh, there's going to be a lot of tears here. It's going to get bigger for me right now. When you welcome a sensation, you may notice it pulsating in a bigger way, or you may noticing it dispersing bigger in the body. So one of the challenges that people face in welcoming all emotions is that they thought things will feel calmer if they do it. No, it may intensify. There's actually infinite outcomes, which is very difficult for people who like to be in control, because when we welcome all emotions, lots of different things can happen. It may intensify, may stay the same, it may bring a new emotion, things may rise and fall. It's going to go in lots of different uncontrollable directions, and that's a challenge for people that like to be in control. It may not feel calm, in fact it most likely won't. May not feel good immediately. So obviously we wouldn't be doing any of this if we didn't want some sort of objective of feeling good at some time, at some future day. I'm not saying you just get used to discomfort forever and that's your new reality. I'm not saying that. Obviously we wouldn't do this unless there was a byproduct at some point where we felt good. But it may not feel good immediately. You may have to get used to what the life cycle of an emotion looks like. Why people who maybe struggle doing this by themselves eventually find themselves in therapy is a therapist can hold the space for you during the life cycle of that emotion. So they can be with you as a safe anchor to help you just sit with the anger for a bit longer. Just sit a bit longer. Sit for a minute longer. I'm here with you. And then what you get in that therapy session is you get to notice that, oh, it rises and falls. So a therapy session gives you the safe space to sit with an uncomfortable emotion for a bit longer, to witness it rising and falling. It gives you the safe space to notice that it's not going to feel good immediately, but it will feel good in another minute, or it will feel a bit more spacious, or it will pass. It will move. There will be something else that will arise. So that's a challenge for a lot of people in self-practice. Eventually you can get there in self-practice. If you can't, that's why people come to therapy to one-on-one, but that's a challenge. The challenges of perspective shifts, so part 2 is perfectionism. It can feel stale and it's inaccessible. So again, perfectionism can just be a struggle in general with all of this. Shifting over to gratitude and resilience and stuff like that, perfectionist parts of you are going to come in going, am I doing this correctly? Like, is this wrong? I know I wrote this before. Am I doing it wrong? Am I being grateful enough? Am I being grateful for the right things? I'm doubting this, so is this wrong? It's going to go in lots of different directions. You're going to have this part of you come up, perfectionism, over and over again, and it may be so much of a challenge that you go, I guess I'm not doing this right, I'm not going to do it. Like I don't immediately feel grateful. It's going to feel stale if it's not something you're used to doing, being resilient and grateful and optimistic. It's going to feel stale at first. You're going to feel like you're lying. You're going to feel like you're writing it out and going, this isn't true, I'm just doing this because Jonty told me to do it. So that can be a challenge at first when it doesn't feel natural at first. Again, you can barely lift the 2 kilo weight, or you can't say, hello, my name is Jonty in the new language. It's going to feel difficult. It's going to feel like you're lying. It's going to feel like you're not quite with it yet. So that's a challenge. And it's going to feel inaccessible, which is kind of similar to feeling stale. It's going to feel like I don't have access to optimism. I've never been optimistic. How can I be optimistic right now? My situation's dire. How can I feel resilient right now? I feel broken. It's not going to feel true. The doubt and confusion is going to be enough of a challenge to hold you back from these perspective shifts. That's why it's a practice. That's why you have to be consistent. That's why getting support and guidance to know exactly how to do it is necessary. What works for one person may not work for the other. Like for me, saying to myself, what if I suggested, what if I decided my mind and body was working for me? That was an affirmation I decided to utilize with perspective shifts to be more resilient. At first, that felt like I couldn't believe it. There was doubtful parts of me. There was parts that were confused. But I kept doing it. I just kept trying out different iterations of that same thing. I chose that sentence, what have I decided? Because it wasn't like I am more, my body is working for me. It wasn't true to me. It was like, what have I decided to start believing this? And I would still notice lots of fear and emotions, and I'd let them, part 1 and part 2, bleed over into each other. It wasn't like I was just resilient and grateful and that's how I feel now. It was like, no, there was still other emotions. So a challenge for perspective shifts is we're going to fear we're not doing it right. It's not going to feel accessible. It's going to feel stale. So last slide. The antidotes to those challenges is that we need to learn how to let it go in lots of directions and be messy. So when we're doing self-talk or meditation or journaling, I say this as like part 2 and part 1 and part 2, welcoming emotions and then different perspectives. Let it go in directions. Let yourself just be like, you know, fuck all of this and I'm afraid of this, and but what if I decided I could get through this and actually like things are actually going quite well, but I don't know if I'm doubting that. Just let it just go in lots of directions. Let it be that you're not feeling great about it in that moment. Let it be that it's uncomfortable. Let it be that you're doubting if you're doing it correctly. Let it go in all directions. Let it be messy. This is difficult for perfectionist parts of you that want it to be in control and contained. Surrender to the fact that it's going to go in lots of different directions. Lots of different outcomes are going to occur. Give yourself time. This is an important one. Give yourself a runway. You are learning skills here. It's not take a pill and everything's going to be better. Give yourself a good couple of months of trying out these practices. Get support and guidance while you're giving it time. You know, I did not do any of this alone. I often say I had like a village helping me. I had a couple of people helping me with different elements of this. Get support on how to word the self-talk during the everyday moments of life, how to actually sit and meditate, how to journal, how to do these 2 things, welcoming emotions and perspective shifts. Get support on the nuance and the guidance for you specifically. Consistency is more important than quality. It's more important that you sit down, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day, than it being the most amazing session. To be honest, the fact that I'm asking you to surrender and you're not going to control it, it's going to be messy. It's not going to feel like quality, at least not what you're used to. If you're watching this and you're more perfectionistic, it's not going to feel like what you think quality should feel like. It's going to feel like a mess. It's going to be uncomfortable. Let it be uncomfortable. It's meant to be. This practice is more about self-discovery rather than getting immediate results. So I mentioned that a bit before, how the intention of learning the skill of welcoming all emotions and perspective shifts is that you discover things about you when you sit and practice doing so. And what you may discover is, I've written here, is what happens when you notice you can't do it. There's no other way to discover these things. What happens when you notice that you're feeling fear and you have no idea how to be with it? Like, what happens for you internally? You wouldn't have discovered that had you not sat and meditated. You wouldn't have realized that. Like, a lot of people I see one-on-one, they're not quite sure why they have pain in the body. Straight away, session 1, we go inside and it's immediately clear that when fear arises for them, they resist it. They go, no, 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 no. They wouldn't have realized that had they not gone inside. They wouldn't have discovered that had they not have started to meditate and journal and do self-talk. And rather than it being like, oh shit, I can't be with my fear, I'm broken. No, no, no. You've discovered that. Now what can we do about it? Now let's work on your resistance towards the fear. What does the resistance need from you? All right, the resistance is a bit angry. How can we let you sit with anger? The same with resilience and gratitude. You go inside and you notice it's kind of stale, it's inaccessible, I can't feel grateful. You wouldn't have discovered that had you not have started to practice the meditation and the journaling and self-talk. When people start these skills, they come to me and they go, I can't do it and I'm not doing it and it's not going quickly. Of course you can't do it. That's why you have pain. You've discovered now that you struggle with resilience. You struggle with optimism. Of course you do. Okay, now you've discovered this. Let's do something about it. Let's teach you how to just be okay with the fact that parts of you can't do it right now. Let's see what these parts need from you. Be consistent with it. Let it be messy. Just keep discovering parts of you, and unless you find out you can't be resilient, there's no way that you're going to learn how to be resilient. Unless you find out that you lack the ability to be with an emotion like fear, you're never going to learn how to eventually learn to be with it. So let the practice, the antidote to the challenges, is let the practice be more about self-discovery rather than getting this immediate, the pain is gone. I can immediately be with things. You're going to suck at the beginning. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's meant to be uncomfortable. Let the practice be about self-discovery. Get support and guidance on these things if you need it. That is the video. As always, I talk really fast. I don't want the videos to be 30, 40 minutes long. So So just to summarize, the two most important skills we're learning in getting lasting relief from pain is welcoming all emotions and learning how to intentionally shift perspectives. The more that you do this, the more it becomes natural to do this in meditation, journaling, and self-talk. We're welcoming all emotions because that teaches the nervous system that actually everything we're feeling is fine. The nervous system is taking you in that direction. It's giving you pain to teach you to do this because it knows once you learn to do this, you will start to be guided internally rather than externally. You will start to trust your intuition more and know which decisions you need to make once you learn to welcome all emotions. Why we need to intentionally shift perspectives is because the mind creates the world that we live in. Our minds were shaped for us when we were younger by society and family, and it creates a world we don't want to live in with pain, career we don't like, maybe relationships that we don't like. So we intentionally learn to shift our perspective because we start to reshape our mind to create a world that we do want to live in, to have perspectives about our life. I couldn't believe how much more resilient, optimistic, and grateful I became the more I started to practice this. You're going to be challenged by these things. It's normal. That's why I set up a community to help people with those challenges, to support them. It's like learning skills. It is learning skills. It's going to take time. You're going to need guidance. It's meant to be uncomfortable. The antidote to that discomfort is letting the whole thing be about self-discovery. Discovering the fact that, oh, I'm quite perfectionistic, I don't like my fear, and I can't be resilient is a beautiful first step. Now, keep practicing. Let's see what you can do about that. That's the talk. Any questions you have on YouTube, ask me below. If you're watching this in the community, let's start a discussion around this. You know where all the lectures are for meditation and journaling and self-talk, so you can go to those accordingly. Otherwise, thanks for watching and see you soon.